Welcome to Laurel Smith of Chicago, Illinois, nonprofit home video and artworks creations. In this particular video, we will be looking at the Bible lies, in which actually concealed the African lion thing's face, in which we now see upon the lion's body in front of the Isaiah 1919 Giza pyramids. As we look at this theologically based racism, in which the Giza Sphinx origin of ancient Judaism. This would be the European Gentile nations, in which originally started the early United States government in English pilgrims as English pilgrims. So we see the trading ships coming from Europe, in which has the English pilgrims in black hats, coats, tight shoes. And as we look at the early 13 colonies in America, started by the 10 European Gentile nations, in which the mistranslated King James Bible was actually all about. As we get into the same black hats, coats, tights, shoes wearing English pilgrims that started the early United States government, it's the same European faced Israelites in which we see praying at the Western Wall. As we look at the African continent, Sphinx 11 of ancient Judaism and Jerusalem, we're looking at the biblical Bible lie that of the European Gentile nations that occurred in 1611, as the King James of England appointed 72 Greek and Hebrew scholars to study the Islamic Aramaic Dead Sea Scrolls. Well, after they got finished studying the African Sphinx of Judea and Jerusalem, Qumran cave images or Dead Sea Scrolls, they, in theological racism, illegally renamed the 12 African continent tribes in which the African lion sphinx of Judea and Jerusalem ruled over into the 12 sons of Jacob. This totally concealed ancient African sphinx, in which we now see in front of the East African continent, Isaiah 1919 Giza pyramids. So as we look at the second illegal name change of the 12 sons of Jacob by the European Gentile nations, now we're talking about the English Bible, English textbooks, ABCs, and 0 through 9 alphabet of the European Gentile nations. So when we look at a European account of an Afro-American, of an African continent sphinx history, we must look at it with skepticism. In other words, if you want a direct historical account of what occurred in ancient Egypt, then we go directly to the African Sphinx in front of the Isaiah 1919 Giza pyramid. And that Sphinx of ancient Judaism actually ruled over the book of Genesis 2:7 normal-headed African Adamic race, in which populated the entire African continent from South Africa to North. Now, out of the two people that was created on the earth, or two Africans, put it that way, we have Genesis 1:26, elongated headed African Adam. Then we have Genesis 2:7, normal-headed African Adam. So the normal-headed African Adam populated South Africa to North. Now, if we look at, if we draw 12 horizontal white lines across the African continent from east to west, and then view them with satellite imagery. So we're looking at 12 horizontal white lines upon the African continent as viewed with satellite imagery from outer space. What we will immediately see is that 12 African continent tribes is actually populating all of the 12 horizontal land surface lines, and which brings us into the terminology in which I call the original 12 African continent tribes, in which the Giza Sphinx ruled over in ancient Judaism.